The rest of the night went by in a blur for Nemo, and he could barely remember his morning, as his father had to practically fight him awake, get him to brush himself clean on the anemone tentacles, and even get him to say a good morning to their good friend, Dory the blue tang. In fact, before the boy knew it, he was already at school without even remembering a conversation on his way, swimming by his father's side, along with Dory, who spent most of her time with them and chatted constantly. Nemo let out a deep yawn as the heaviness in his eyes made him groggy. He could barely acknowledge his surroundings. However, he did hear the sound of the other children in his class talking with each other. "Is something wrong, Nemo?" came from his friend Pearl, who was probably nearby. He didn't turn to look. She was a pink-colored octopus. "I'm just really tired," the boy replied. "I didn't sleep well last night. This is so out of character for you." "Nemo," said Sheldon the seahorse, who appeared by Nemo's side, along with Pearl and the butterfly fish, Tad. "Yeah," Tad added. "Usually you're wide awake and ready for school." Nemo shook his head, trying to shake the sleepiness off. He was just reminded that he was at school, and it was time to focus. "Did my dad leave?" "Yeah, 10 minutes ago," Sheldon replied. Nemo yawned again. He wasn't sure if he should be concerned about the fact that he didn't even notice his dad saying goodbye. "Better wake up," Tad said. "Class is about to start soon." Pearl suddenly gasped as she nudged Tad, looking ahead. "Yes, about now. There he is," she whispered, as if she had just seen a movie star. Nemo thought she was talking about someone famous, and he was curious when Tad and Sheldon gave Pearl a sympathetic look and turned to peer in the same direction. Nemo glanced over. It was their substitute teacher, Hank, a large octopus with red and orange blended colors. He always looked anxious and stiff, but the kids still loved him. Nemo turned to his friends, wondering why they were looking at Hank like they had never seen him before. The rest of the children swam up to Hank, hovering around him. He sternly told them not to touch him and asked them to get back so he could take attendance. "How long has he been substituting for Mr. Ray?" Tad asked. "A week, I think," Sheldon said. "I can't wait to see what he's teaching us today," Pearl said in a soft tone, which sounded different to Nemo. "What's going on?" Nemo asked. "Pearl has a crush on the sub," Tad said. Pearl instantly looked down and began to twirl her arms back and forth. Nemo was stunned as he watched Pearl, then turned to Tad and Sheldon, who explained their friend's crush on her teacher. "He's so cool," Pearl said. "Really? You think that?" Nemo asked. "Why don't you tell him?" "No, I can't. You can't know." "You can't tell anyone, Nemo," Tad said. "It's a secret." Nemo suddenly felt a pang. He didn't understand why Tad and Sheldon knew, but he didn't. It stung him that he wasn't instantly included, and hearing that it was a secret meant they were keeping it a secret from him. The boy began to feel a sense of panic for some odd reason. It wasn't natural for him to feel that way when he wasn't in any danger. The lightheadedness that suddenly overcame him distracted him from his surroundings. That didn't last long, though, when he heard Pearl call his name. He came to his senses and noticed all his friends staring at him, giving him a stern look, waiting for him to respond. "He can't know, okay?" Pearl said again. "Yeah, okay. Your secret is safe with me," Nemo said sincerely. All right, Hank said as he tried to keep the class in order. He used to live in a small aquarium in California, but after a series of events, he ended up joining Nemo, his father, and Dory in the ocean. And although the octopus always preferred small spaces, he was starting to get used to the open sea. He just had restrictions. "No touching," he said to one of the classmates, who giggled. and gathered with the rest of the children. They all finally started to settle down and listen to their substitute teacher. Mr. Ray will be back in 3 days, Hank said. I know you all wanted me to update you on that. The migration is ending soon. The class was looking forward to seeing Mr. Ray again. However, at the same time, they were disappointed they wouldn't be seeing Hank anymore, especially Pearl. Nemo watched her closely. He could tell by the look in her innocent blue eyes that she was sad but trying to keep it together. He wanted to be there for her. What's the lesson today, Mr. Hank? A little crab asked. Today is the lesson on corals, Hank replied. If you look, they are all around you. If you know what I mean. Can you see? Yeah, a fish shouted. I'll give you a fact. The more colorful they look, the healthier they are. That's really cool, Pearl said. Can you sing a song about the corals? The little crab asked excitedly. I'm not a singer, Hank said bluntly. He then cleared his throat. They are not plants, but actually animals. They have no brains, though, Tad said obnoxiously, laughing along with Sheldon. Hank continued to teach all he knew about corals, even if it wasn't a lot. He wasn't trained as a teacher, but he did know a bit about the ocean. And though he didn't sing like Mr. Ray, he did have the class study the corals around them and give verbal descriptions of what they look like. I think they are very pretty, Pearl said, and it's what makes our home. She was near Nemo as she spoke, the only one who could hear her. Nemo wasn't sure if she was talking to him or herself. As he watched her, he could tell that her face softened and looked sad when she became quiet. Hey, I'm sorry Mr. Hank is leaving soon. If there's anything I can do to make things better. No, Pearl quickly said as she turned to him. Nemo was startled and stared at her for a few seconds before avoiding eye contact. He didn't know what to say and was quite surprised. Pearl didn't usually snap at him like that. Sorry, Pearl said, noticing how uncomfortable he was. I don't want to push things. If he finds out I like him, things could get awkward, right? Yeah, sure. All right, everyone. Next lesson, Hank said, gathering the class back to the center. It took Nemo a bit longer to get himself over, because he was still stunned by the fact that Pearl didn't catch his drift. Push things? He thought. Make things awkward? He wasn't trying to get the two together. He was just trying to be a good friend and help Pearl feel better about their substitute teacher leaving.